Awesome. Hi, Aya from PTC, Peachtree City, representing.
Yeah,
Good to have you here. I see Dio, I see Booking from OKC, Tcheula from OKC. Wow, awesome. The OKC folks are winning. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thrive Conversations is a monthly. Oh, sorry, let me acknowledge a few more people. Daya from Nigeria, welcome, welcome, welcome. And as the others join, I see an Auntie D. Oh, Auntie D, maybe that's Daya from somewhere. All right, as you join in, just give us a shout out where you're calling from today, and we're glad to have you on here. Okay, and so Thrive Conversations is a monthly inspirational, motivational, teaching, everything webinar that is uniquely crafted for immigrants, career professionals, especially in the United States. But every once in a while, we have folks joining from all around the world, beyond the US, because the valuable tips and information that we share is applicable to many people, not just for your career, but in life in general. So I'm glad to have you on here today. And today we have a special guest, Tcheula. Um, I'm going to share a little bit about how I met her, but at the same time, I'm also going to give her a chance to share about herself in a little bit. And she'll be telling us, giving us an introduction and everything. So, like I said, Thrive in the US is a platform, it's a network for immigrants, career professionals in the US, curated by me, Bunmi Akinkugbe. I'm a physician and a public health professional in Atlanta, Georgia. And the aim of the platform is to inspire and motivate immigrant career professionals to move from survival to thriving. So many people in my interactions with many immigrant career professionals, it's very common when there are folks that move to a new environment. And I must agree, sometimes it is challenging to be able to adjust to a new environment. Even when you have all the skills and qualifications, sometimes you still have to jump some hoops to be able to get to where you really want to be. So that's the goal of Thrive in the US, to help immigrants, career professionals to be able to move from survival to thriving. This we do by providing resources that helps immigrant career professionals to move from one stage to the other, monthly webinars like this, and just advice and tips from so many quarters that helps immigrant professionals to thrive. So back to our goal for today and with our special guest. I met Tcheula at one of our conferences, which was one of the other platforms that I run at the Sophisticated Appeal Women's Ladies Network, which deals with everything classy, purpose driven for women. And we had this conference in Atlanta, August of 2018, where women from all walks of life came together, and it was a night of inspiration and motivation to keep encouraging each and every one of us to move along in the path that God has called us to. And at that point in time, Tcheula was one of the participants or attendees of that conference, and we all had like unique moments where we were sharing our experiences. And at that time, she had shared that experience being a stay-at-home mom and how she was looking into expanding her reach. I think she had some platforms going on then. And at that point in time, she was a little shy and didn't want to share too much. But when other people were sharing their experiences and keeping themselves motivated and setting goals for themselves, she also shared her experience. And then a couple of years later, I heard from another mutual friend of ours how God had transformed and done amazing things in her life. And I was like, yes, I have to have Tcheula on the platform in Thrive in the US to share her journey, to inspire us, for us to learn from her in so many ways. So today, I'm honored to present to you Miss Tcheula. And I'll turn the mic over to you right now. All right, there we go. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Bunmi. Thank you, Dr. Bunmi, for that. I am glad to be on here. I am so thankful to God for my journey and the opportunity to tell my story. Right? Like Dr. Bunmi said, we did meet in Atlanta, and I was in a very interesting place there, but I think we'll get into that as this conversation unfolds. So my name is Tcheula Lienou. I am originally from Cameroon. Um, I am one of 5 kids. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I grew up, my mom was a teacher, a retired teacher, and my dad kind of worked in the bank and then became a farmer for most of. I mean, he was always a farmer. So I grew up in an environment where my parents really sacrificed a lot for us to go to the best schools in the country and just really give our best. And we grew up with a lot of, our family, friends, just neighborhood. We were like a people. I mean, I grew up just being in family, in the neighborhood, during the holidays, we were a people person, or people family. So back in 2002, I got my A levels, and then I came to the US. I'd attempted to take an engineering exam back at home, like one of the only engineering schools we have in the country. I did sit for that exam. I didn't make it, which even preparing for it, a lot of people thought like, who does that, But I made it to the US, came out to Oklahoma, went to school in Oklahoma State University where I met my husband. He and I studied the same thing. We've been married for 11 years now, we're going on 12 years. Known him since 2002, pretty much. We have 3 boys, 10, 11, and 8. So as Dr. Bunmi said, I have been a stay-at-home mom. So I did my undergraduate at OSU in electrical engineering. Quite an interesting story why electrical engineering. And after I graduated, my focus then was in communication and controls. But when I was done with the undergraduate studies, and it looked like getting a job was a challenge because a lot of other people who did not require visa sponsorship were in that program. I got advice to study power because it seemed like only international students study power. So if you got something in power, your likelihood of getting a job was just really high. So I went back in for a master's and got my master's degree in power electronics, pretty much. And that was pretty much in 2009. And ever since then, I was a stay-at-home mom till last year. So a lot in between, but I'll share more as we go on. But that is something about me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tcheula. All right, so let's just kick this off. Thank you for giving us a little background of where you grew up and the values that your parents imputed in you, because that is something that definitely carries many immigrant career professionals here, where we know that definitely we have to go for our goals because those values have been implanted in our lives way from when we were growing up. So let's go through a couple of questions here. So did you always want to be an engineer, or what did you want? What was your dream growing up, your dream job? Like, what did you want to be?
So interestingly enough, I always knew what I did not want. I have never known what I wanted. I knew I didn't want to become a medical doctor or nurse.
I like that. Like knowing what you don't want to become. It's a good way to start.
So I did well with the sciences. I mean, math, I did physics, like all that stuff. I enjoyed it, find X, find Y, whatever, find something, that was my kind of thing. Biology, chemistry, yes, I could balance equations, I could draw, you know, a dissected rat or whatever, but I was just too much. So by high school and all, I knew I wasn't gonna, and my family, I think most people around me were more like, oh, it's gonna be medicine and all. Um, they just could not win me over. Something about that profession which I really honor is that I cannot do it, you know. So by high school, finishing high school, it was like, okay, going to a university in the country and probably studying physics or studying maths, like just one subject. And I knew like, okay, what is beyond that? Like, what's the career path? I had that thought that early, which is it gonna lead me to like a professor position? Like, what am I gonna do beyond like studying math in the university or studying physics? And that is why I went on to do like the professional exam back at home. Really didn't even apply to any university when I graduated that year at home. And God has just been amazing to me, and He continues being amazing, because that same year I got to travel and I came out here to study. When I went to the embassy for a visa, my I-20 had applied for architecture engineering. Uh, it was architecture engineering because I looked at the OSU brochure and I thought architecture was what was more challenging, what was more like, okay, I'm going to break my head, something. It's crazy. But when I came to the US and I went to the Office of International Students, I was going to go check in, register. And the receptionist there looked at my A-level transcript and looked at the degree program I was going to go on. And she's like, you have too many math credits. You're not going to use this if you study architecture. But if you study electrical engineering, all of these credits will transfer over. And I was like, okay, switching. So that is how I got to, to become an electrical engineer. And in the process of studying electrical engineering, I still had pressure during the course of it to still switch to something medical, nursing, you know. I came close to switching to chemical engineering because it was like, this is the closest I can come to the medical field without being a physician, or like just staying away from biology and blood and just the, you know, that helped. But when I went over to the office of, to the School of Chemical Engineering to ask for a transfer of credit, I realized most of my credits won't carry over. And that was a pain because I'm like, I'm taking loans to pay this fees, you know, this is going to be a loss. And that was the only decision I used to stay on in engineering. Something that has been consistent in my life is in knowing what I don't want, what I have to do, I really give myself to it. So I am flexible because not knowing what I don't want leaves me, okay, another wall of things. What is it exactly? I don't know. But once I have peace in it and I have flow in it, I just put myself in it, and I've seen success on that path.
That is amazing, because, you know, many times we struggle with trying to figure out what we want or what we want to do. But I think, you know, today this statement just reminds us that sometimes knocking off the things we don't want to do can actually help us to be clear on our path of what we want to do. So thank you for sharing that. And we're dropping all the nuggets in the chat box as we're going along. So let's see. So did you ever work in the US doing something like any job before going into the engineering pathway?
Oh yeah, as an international student, that I mean, school was just like a part of what you came here for. So work was more like while I was in the US throughout my studies. So I came in and right off the bat, you know, I worked at Dollar General, I worked at McDonald's, I did housekeeping. I was a tutor on campus, a math tutor on campus. So my whole life since I came into the US, I always had a job, at least two, for the most part, like even as a student. And that was because I had to take care of my bills, fees, you know, and also help situations that came up also at home and around me. I didn't have the support. I knew if my parents had it, it would have been like easy because they had already made a lot of sacrifices for us, you know. Right. But I was so blessed that at the beginning of my program, my uncle could co-sign some loans for me, you know. I mean, I don't take that for granted because there are people, it's like a citizen or resident, but as an international student back then, even to get a loan, you need a co-signer. So God blessed me that my uncle could do that for me. Scholarships were, in my department, scholarships were very limited. I mean, if you could, they're not limited. But if you could apply to a scholarship, it had that requirement on it of, for residents or for citizens. That automatically kicked some of us out of that space. And so, yes, I worked all the time. I worked a lot. I worked all the time. And so not working was a culture shock for me, because from the moment I came to the US, all I knew about life is whatever you do, work is like the main part of it. Yeah.
That's interesting. And thanks for sharing that, because there are also some international students on this chat today. And that's definitely great advice for them as well. Okay, so like for many people, or for some few folks that might have shared in my career journey too, I see some similarities in, having to work in McDonald's. I worked in a gas station, I worked as a sales girl before eventually figuring out my path. So some of those experiences, they're not necessarily means that you're doomed for life. Like if you find yourself in that situation right now, keep your goals ahead of you and keep moving forward, because somewhere in the future, it's going to become part of your story where you're sharing with people how you went through that journey.
They're really good experiences, because you get to experience the culture. The culture in a classroom, your teacher is different from the culture of receiving guests at McDonald's, checking, or there was just a lot of exposure in that places. I remember my first culture shock working at Dollar General, and like a family coming in, and everybody paid for their stuff differently. Like your grandma paid for hers, mom paid, and daughter paid, and I'm like, why is one person not taking care of this? So there's a lot of exposure even at that level with jobs like that help you navigate your stay.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's talk about the stay-at-home experience. How did that come about? At what point did you like stop the work or everything and had to stay at home? What led to that decision?
So when I went back to do my master's, I was just blessed immensely, because I got a chance to work as a research and a teaching assistant. So I got tuition waiver, I got a stipend, I got like insurance in the US for the first time, because like you don't even go to you just don't get sick, because what are you going to do about that? So because of that, I was able to press in. I mean, at that time also, I also knew more about the power of networking. I'd pretty much gone through my undergraduate, like between work, my family, my friends, the African Student Organization, and did not plug into the other community, like my engineering society community or other people. So I missed out a lot about what it even takes to get an internship and how people get internship and stuff. So coming into my master's program, I was woke. I was like, I'm going to put myself in every conference, come into our department, just participate in a lot of stuff. So through that process, I got an internship in Kansas. That was the summer before I graduated. I mean, they pay me money. I was like, is this for real? This is so good. Finally, America. So this was like May through August of 2008. And there was an election that year. So at the end, it was a power energy company. So they did consulting for power plants and air pollution. Energy gets political sometimes. So with election coming in November of that year, the people I'd worked for, they did not extend me an offer. It was like, we don't know about policy with the change in government. Let's see how things go. We'll look out for this. So fast forward to May of 2009. And in February, I had our first baby. My husband and I had the first baby in February of 2009. And then I graduated in May. But that was 2009. That was when American economy had crashed. That's when people were getting laid off, just something like this COVID season people are experiencing. And so applying for a job then, I needed visa sponsorship. It wasn't just straight up. So a lot of the interviews I did, it was like, do you require visa sponsorship? As the answer was yes, it pretty much ended there. As an international student, I had a year of work permit. I was on OPT. Okay. And that whole year expired. I did not get a job. Wow. And because of that, if your OPT expires, you either go back to school, leave the country, you got to find another way to stay in status. So my husband had an H-1B visa at the time.
Okay.
So I did switch at the end of May of 2010. I switched to this visa. So my visa went from an H-1B to an H-4 visa. And that allowed me to stay in the US. It didn't come with a work permit back then. So being a stay-at-home mom was not a decision I made. So it happened as a result of life, immigration, and just a lot of stuff really out of my control. And I struggled with it at the beginning. I tried to do many things, but 2 years in, with the same thing I heard all over and over, which was, if you're out of school and out of work for about 2 years, you can get a job. You're gonna have to go back to school or something, you know. But I did a lot of stuff during that time. I did blogging, I sold, I did cake, I did a lot of stuff. But the blessing I had, we had our kids are like back to back, so 11, 10, and 8. So with 3 little boys, there was no help, there was no daycare. My husband is the only one working. I had always worked, and all of a sudden I don't work. I don't have a paycheck coming in. I had to take care of kids. We're newlyweds. We're having kids. So it was an interesting start. Very challenging.
Wow.
Adventurous, because the way I dealt with stress was that I would take off. I would go on a trip. I would just disappear pretty much, like get on the road. So, and then it was fun because I got to take care of my kids. I got to watch them grow. I got to spend time with them and spend time with other friends also. So that is how I got to being a stay-at-home mom.
Wow, that's an interesting experience. You know, I hear from stay-at-home moms, like stay-at-home moms who end up at home not by choice. You understand? Like there's some folks that really want to stay at home and maybe homeschool and support their spouses, or maybe have an in-house business and all that. But there are situations where some folks find themselves, they are able to work, they want to work, but either due to maybe seasons of life, immigrations, like you mentioned, or some folks are just looking for jobs and they can't find it, or some folks have maybe special needs children that they have to take care of at home, or an elderly person, they end up being stay at home. So before we move to how you transition back into the career, what are 1 or 2 things that you think are maybe things you learned from being a stay-at-home mom, like the pluses that comes with it that kept you going during that period in time?
Oh, yeah. So being a stay-at-home mom was very fulfilling. I mean, if it was just that space, it was like heaven. There's the other dynamics of it, relationship, because of how my husband and I had found ourselves in this place. We're not really prepared. So we had a lot of challenge to overcome with communication and just thriving, pretty much like being healthy. I can speak from a place where I was going through, and I can speak from a place of looking back. And speaking from a place of looking back, there was a lot of stress on me from just the life that had become my normal, out of not anything I did not do, that I put on my husband. Back then, it looked like everything seemed like, him, because it was just the 2 of us and then kids. So if you're feeling stressed, it's definitely the other person who is talking to you, trying to have a conversation to you, or trying to tell you, okay, let's do it this way. And you're like, no, so my stay-at-home mom's journey is mixed. It had me trying to find myself. It had me trying to not lose myself. It had me trying to stay married. It had me trying to enjoy life. It had me trying to, keep my kids in a good space. And in all of that,
Right.
I would say God really helped me, because I grew up in a Christian home. I went to a Christian school. We read the word, we pray, you stay in the, you say God. But it was my journey of being a stay-at-home mom that I really came to know God, like know the peace of God, know to rest in God. And one thing I say is, you can look at any picture, any video of me in the last 10 years and think like I was not having the greatest time of my life. But that was just something that God helped me with, as I press in more. So from that journey, I would say to anybody, whether you stay at home mom, wherever you are, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your mind, you know. Your self-care is very important. Nobody is your problem. Nothing working or not working, you know, it's an issue. You have to prioritize your well-being. You have to wake up and you have to say, okay, if I'm happy today, if I'm going to have a good time today, it only depends on me. If it means you going on a run, if it means you calling a friend and having a good chat, you know, and you have to be in that place, and you have to build relationships, you know. It's important to have people in your life. One thing that is key about me surviving, staying at home, and even transitioning was the people I had in my life. I mean, I tell you, I have crazy people in my life. They believed in me so much, you know, and they'll say things that, you know, I'm thinking, you've lost your mind. But another encouragement to everybody is like, even your family, your friends, the people who you have around you, when they lift you up, don't put it down. Just receive it, because all of that is necessary for you to, you know, stay your course, conquer it. And because we're always conquering, there's always a cause, there's no arrival. So a stay-at-home mom, please enjoy your kids, have fun with them, be silly. Even if you're working and you still have kids, have fun with your kids. They grow up so fast, and you know. So whatever opportunity you have, don't be about everything else but your children. Just be a child with them, have a good time with them. Whatever you do, make sure you enjoy every day, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom.
Amazing, amazing. I'm loving all those tips, and I'm putting some of them in the chat box, and some folks are putting it in there as well. Edith says so true. I think she was referring to the part where you have to take responsibility sometimes, you know, for knowing that even though you're at home, you find your peace place, you find your inspirational place and all that. Joy says very encouraging. Thank you. Can you mention just one or two more things that sustained you while you were a stay-at-home mom? So I'm thinking, maybe, did you have a social network? Did you have a go-to thing that you did that kept you inspired and motivated?
So I think it's a scripture in the Bible that says, if you're gonna have a friend, you have to be friendly. Show yourself friendly and all, you know. So I did have I was very blessed, because even colleagues, because my husband is also an electrical engineer, he had colleagues who were female, and they always brought me into their stuff, you know. I mean, back then I'm like, you're the engineer, you know, I'm working, I'm just here taking care of kids, you know. But whenever they had gatherings, just females, you know, they would drag me into it. They will invite me. They will also, you know, they will always ask for my resume. They were always looking for stuff for me, you know. I would just be minding my business with the kids, and someone would say, okay, Tcheula, send me your resume, I'm talking to this person. So people were really invested in me. And I give God the glory for that. I can't really thank God enough for how much people have been. Like, I have my story. My story is because of people. Some of them are online right now, and I read, and they know from the bottom of my heart, and I'll always say it, you know. Just be slow to take offense, you know. Be slow to take things personally. If you have somebody that you've come a long way with, because you know when people have helped you. Right. You know when people, I had friends that would leave meetings at any time of the day to take my call, you know, because like I said, I was crazy for some time. Like, my mind was just all over the place, and when I lose it, I gotta talk to somebody. And there are people who will take my calls like that, and even when it looked like our relationship got shaky, it was in my heart, like, you know what, this person was there for me, this person has been there for me. And if it just meant picking up my phone and saying what's up, even if they responded or not, I just made sure I shifted, you know, the weight of stuff from me. So relationships is really key. You know the people in your lives that have been there for you. You know the people that have made sacrifices for you. Don't take anything for granted. If somebody can take your call when you need to talk to someone, it's a big deal. And when you have those people in your life, even if you cannot be, you know, in talking terms or be cordial, free your heart, you know, don't take offense. Don't, you know, I think I was in a place where I could have stayed an angry person for so long with a lot of people. But all that stuff is just crazy energy. You use it on that, you don't have it to do or enjoy life pretty much. So the essence of being a stay-at-home mom or just doing anything is guarding your heart. You really have to guard your heart. It's not about having too many people around you or many people or being in every place there's a gathering, but the quality of your relationships matters. So you invest in your own self so that you're a healthy person in the relationships that you're in, and you also bring peace, joy, encouragement, in the relationships that you're in. I have people. I am here because people just came through for me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Just random times they'll drop everything and they'll be there for me. So let's be slow. Let just everybody, even being at home, be slow to take offense. Be very open. Don't say, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me and all of that. When somebody's saying, how about this? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Many times I was not in a place to try anything because my mind was just broken, and I'm like, you don't even get it. Don't offer stuff to me. But I could sit into such conversations that even when I was in a place where I could follow through with that, it wasn't. So don't shut yourself in. Take care of yourself so that you can be in conversations when people are offering advice to you, or just stuff. You don't feel offended. You don't feel like it's not like you're not doing enough or you're not doing too much, but you can take it, you can go shelve it. You don't need to tell them that you're shelving it, or you can go use it,
Wow, that's amazing. Lots of germs that you're dropping right there. I love the part where you talked about, what's it called? Guarding your heart. Especially in this day and age we're in, with social media and everything, it's like so much information. Sometimes you could get overwhelmed, like, okay, where am I even going to start from? So, being able to tease out the valuable information that pertains to you and keeping your peace and not getting overwhelmed is definitely a game changer for many professionals out there. And also, the power of the network, like you said, not taking offense, because there's a tendency, for example, you wanted to work, but you ended up staying at home. So, the natural feel will be like when you see other people maybe rising in their career or being a guest at a seminar or something, the natural feel is to feel a little envious, like, oh, that could have been me, or I wish that was me. But, understanding that there is time for everything and a season for everything, and being open to the help and assistance that folks that are even already in the career field are willing to bring to your doorstep is definitely a plus in that information.
And you have to celebrate others, celebrate people. Celebrate. It doesn't matter if it kills you that you wish you're the one who was there. Send the congratulations, say well done. It's gonna defeat the envy or any kind of crazy stuff that wants to rise up in you, because it's your own path you're creating when you celebrate others.
Right. Love it. I'm loving it all. And it says guarding your heart is much easier said than done sometimes, but sometimes it's all the more important. Yeah, once we realize that it's more important, it also helps. And like sometimes we don't get to this, like the highest point in just one experience. Every day we keep getting better, and many people are cheering what you said about celebrating others, because when you celebrate others, it helps you also to keep your spirits up, and other people will celebrate you too. Like you said, we all have our parts that we're channeling, so somebody else's part might not be your own, so you don't need to put that all over you. Yeah, and we're celebrating here. Thank you for the shout outs right there. All right, so now let's move on to how you transition. So what was the trigger point that moved you from being a stay-at-home mom? What was that experience? I'm sure that's the most amazing part of this conversation today. So let's go.
So 10 years of being a stay-at-home mom, I could have had a trigger. Every day was like a trigger point. But while I was at home, like I said, I had a lot of friends who, because they knew that it wasn't a choice for me to be at home, they always looked out for me and sent stuff. But I was in a place, God put me where I was because nothing could open up. I remember one time, even my husband's company, talking to like his number 2 boss, and it looked like a done deal. I was gonna get like a 3 months internship, and then after that get evaluated to come back full time, and that didn't go anywhere. But my kids were young, they grew up, so I pretty much took care of them. My kids didn't do daycare. I took care of my kids, our kids full time. During that time, I knew, God always spoke to me, because when I did blogging, I did catering, I did some stuff. And when I started getting overwhelmed, God would tell me clearly, like, I've asked you to do one thing, take care of those kids. Like, it was always clear to me. And hearing that was easy for me to always drop stuff. So when my youngest was, so the first one went to started school, and then the second, and then the third was preparing for kindergarten. This was going to be in 2017. 2017 was going to start kindergarten in 2018. Maybe I'm right, or maybe I'm off one year. So I knew that, okay, I would talk to God. I was like, okay, now all the kids are going to be in school. What are you going to tell me? Well, you can't tell me, like, stay at home, because the kids are going to be in school. And it was such a blessing that year, because my mom visited with my aunt. My younger sister was graduating, so they visited from home, and they ended up staying with me that whole summer. And because of because of that interview I didn't do, the job I didn't get from my husband's company, where the big boss could not get me the job, he had called me and spent about 30 minutes with me and said, you know what, take this professional exam, because when people look at your resume, they're thinking like it's 2009, you know, now there's nothing on there. I'd done some restaurant work, which I dropped, but that's pretty much it. So that summer, with my parents at home, I spent 3 weeks. No, I spent about a month or so studying. You know, I'll get up in the morning, go for a run, get my stuff, and I was out the house. I struggled a little bit because I wanted to study at home, and God would just tell me, like, this is not the plan. You go to the library. You will go to the library. I'll be there, but you have to go to the library. And it was so interesting because even some of the subjects or topics in areas in electrical engineering I struggled with at school, they just became easy for me. I looked at it and I was like, why did I even struggle when I was in school? So during that time, I took that board exam. It's FE, Fundamentals of Engineering. It's not just electrical, it's everything engineering, physics, mathematics, just everything. And normally for most jobs, it's like a preferred requirement, entry level, you know. So I knew that, okay, if I get that exam put on my resume, I should be landing a job, like first person that sees my resume. So I got that done. I passed the exam, and I started putting my resume out. And a few months later, my husband lost his job instead. I'm like, this is not making sense. That is when we moved. He got a new job in Atlanta, and then we moved from Georgia. We moved from Kansas to Georgia. Oh. And I came to Georgia, and it was just a new experience. But I'd been in a place for a while that when stuff is changing, I know God is in it. For me, God is definitely like Tcheula next level. I don't care how it looks like.
Love it.
We came into Atlanta. I continued applying. There was living in Peachtree City. There was the other stuff that came up, and everybody, even when I came to Georgia, you know, people just came into my career journey. That is what I have enjoyed about my career journey. It's always been people have made it their business.
Wow.
Like, we're gonna help you, Tcheula. You're not even asking. You're not talking about it. We're just gonna come in there and get you somewhere, put you somewhere. You know, and I just had friends who would tell me, like, Tcheula, you can replace my whole department. You can replace everybody in my company, like engineers also. And I was like, okay, I don't know what they're saying, but God, this is like 9, 8 years, you know. So in Atlanta, I continued looking, I continued applying. In 2018, there was this job. I mean, everything just lined up. The miracles around it being behind the house, we had gone over, claimed it, received it. Finally, somebody called me for an in-person interview. It had not happened in a long time. And I knew this was it. So I went in there, and a few days later, they called me. I'd gone. I went and spent some money. I called a friend. I said, what is the most expensive mall in Georgia? Because I need to go there and get a suit for it.
Wow.
So I did something ridiculous like that. And then I came back. I did that interview. A few days later, they called me and said, they canceled the position.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, okay. But, you know, it was just one of those things. I had written my offer letter. I written an offer letter. I put my name in it. I put my salary. I put my start date. I was looking at it every day, saying it, and just waiting for that call. And the call came, which was like, we've canceled the position. Mm-hmm. That was something. But God was there, because it was quiet and was okay. It didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And by the end of that year, my husband found something else, same company, but another position in Oklahoma, where he was interested in. So we moved to Oklahoma. So I'm saying this to say I'd always been in the process of applying, sitting back. One thing I didn't do was I wasn't always applying for jobs. I went with the flow. There was a time that was just a grace on me to sit on the computer and just apply for everything, anything. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? It is not man, it is not power, it's none of this stuff. And about that time also, I started having like family, everybody calling me to say, go back to school. My youngest has started kindergarten there. So truly, I was at home, like when the kids would go to school in the morning.
Wow.
I got a food license. I was selling stuff at the farmers market in District City. So I did all of that because I told myself, this school thing is a business. Like, I didn't come to America to become a professional student. I need to make money. I can't, where am I going to get fees to do another degree program? And if I have faith for fees, I have faith for a job. It's the same thing. God is the one who's going to do this thing. It has nothing to do with me. And I had to be crazy because these are people who really cared for me, who reached out and said, another program. And I'm like, no. I made up my mind. I knew what I did not want, even at that point. I was like, it doesn't matter if it's engineering. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter what it is. I'm just going to make money. That's what I want to do now. So once I got to that place and then we moved to Oklahoma, like I said about people in my life, we just moved to Oklahoma. We're here a few weeks, and friends would ask me like, how is Oklahoma? I said, I don't know about this Oklahoma. I don't know. I went to school here. I'm something about this Oklahoma, very different from every place we had moved then. But I was like, and my family is here. Like, my family is in Oklahoma, but something about it felt like, why am I here? And I didn't push it. I would stay on the couch. I would sleep on the couch. I'm not a TV person. I listen to a lot of maybe sermons or music. But when the kids go to school, I'll just lay on the couch, and I didn't try to do too much. So fast forward to November of that year, one Sunday morning, one of my friends, we were in Kansas together. She had seen on another friend's LinkedIn profile that Ingersoll and this company were doing a relaunch program. So it was a program for women in engineering who had taken some time off work and they were having difficulty coming back. Because the problem I faced later on applying for jobs when I got my green card was that I had a gap on my resume. So you have not worked for all these years. What have you been doing in engineering terms? I'm taking care of kids, right?
You've been fixing their toys. That's your engineering skill right there.
That's not enough. You gotta something. Try. They want more. So, but there was this program at that company, and she sent it to me. It required, so it was looking for people who had at least 5 years of work experience before they took a break. I didn't have that. I mean, right after school, I was home. They were also looking for people in North Carolina. I was in Oklahoma then. So when I looked at it, I mean, the only difference was like I had a master's degree, but that was it. At this point, it was like all the rejections, all the no's, just what else? Another rejection can't hurt nothing, right? Gonna put it in, because my friend who sent it to me, she's like, I didn't think you were gonna apply for it, but I just think it was just grace and the help of God in that season for me, because I did put in, and I went in there to prepare for the exam. Not the exam, when they called me up for the first interview, when I was going to talk with the HR lady, that was the first time I actually went into my transcripts. I went to OSU website, I pulled out all those classes, I read their descriptions. I can't talk about work and sound technical, but I can go back to these places and talk about these things, work I did at school, classes, and still sound very technical. And I'll clearly say this was all God helping me. So when I talked to the HR lady the first time, even with everything that seemed like I didn't even qualify to apply, a few days later, I got the call that they were going to bring me in for an in-person interview. And that was scheduled for the 17th of December. I had like a week or two. I got in there, they sent me the list. I had to interview. I interviewed with about 8 VPs because it's a company with different products. We have the power tools, we have the club cars, so different products. So they sent me the agenda, the agenda for the day. I used that. I went into LinkedIn and checked out all these people, read what people had said about them, and just use that to go back into my course description, my transcript, to see what I'm going to connect with. Just was really thorough preparing for it. And they brought me into North Carolina impressive treatment from where they launched me. And I got in there, I'm calling my brother. I'm like, I mean, I've done housekeeping. I think I did it in a really great hotel. But man, this place is, long story short, they called me in. I went there. I used the suit that I used on the other interview that got, so I was really ready. Because my friend had told me, Tcheula, you didn't get that other job because they looked at you and they knew they couldn't pay you. I said, okay.
I love that.
So when I went for the interview, you know, it was almost intimidating, but I was in a place in my mind like that I could even come this far. There's just one way out of this thing. You're gonna make me an offer. And going from one, you know, interview to another, I'm talking about the VPs of engineering. And they'll sit there and, you know, look at me in the face. And they were so amazed, like, who gets a degree in engineering and does not work? And you'll say 10 years, wow. And you have a master's in electrical engineering. How are you still alive? So when they looked at my resume, they kept asking me, how have you done it? How have you been able to, you know, navigate this? Right. And I tried to really, I did keep it together. I didn't break down because some of the interviews went to places where I could have just been like, oh. But I kept it together. And at the end of the interview, I remember the VP of HR telling me, you know, your story inspires me. I have girls. I'm going to go home today. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to them about you. It doesn't matter what happens with this interview. So a few days after that interview, I mean, I had done another interview a few days before that. So when I left that place, I got into my car. Fear kind of gripped me because I'd seen controllers, I'd seen a lot of big machines, and I'm like, maybe the other one, when I get to write reports, if they can make me an offer, will be better. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Interesting.
Sure. So I went into the car. When fear kind of gripped me like that, I'm like, no, I can't come this far and then I take the easy way out. If these people make me an offer, this is the job I'm gonna take. This is in North Carolina. And for the longest time, I didn't know I could even take a job away from my family. So that was 17th of December. During that week, I sent thank you notes. And for the first time ever, you know, this people responded to my thank you notes and said, it was really nice meeting you and talking to you. And December 21st, 2018, I got a call. Wow. And it said they were making me an offer. So this was a relaunch program. It was going to be a 12-week program. Depending on performance, you could have a full-time job. And another thing that happened on that was because when I talked to the VP of HR, she said, whatever they're going to pay, it's like they're expecting people with 10 years of experience, and it's going to vary, the pay. And this is the maximum they're going to pay anyone in this program. And they looked at me and said, hey, you don't have an experience. 21st, actually. You don't have an experience. So what do you think a good pay will be for you? And I'm like, you know, whatever you choose to pay me, I think it will make sense because you all look like you got some sense around here, you know. And, you know, when they called me and made that offer, they made me an offer with the highest they're going to pay anyone coming to the program.
Wow. And
that is how I had my start date for January 28th. My kids were here, my husband, I left everybody in Oklahoma. I moved to North Carolina. Wow. It could have only been God. Wow. Got an apartment and I started working. 2 other amazing ladies in the program. And 12 weeks later, I stepped in. I got into a program when somebody else was leaving because they got married. So there was a lot of need. There was a lot of people needed stuff. And I was always like, yeah, we had to get some tools into the market. We needed certification. They were testing in Boston. I was the only one. They looked at me and I'm sitting at that table. I'm not saying no. And I was in Boston. I was setting up for the first shift. I was setting up for the second shift. Midnight, they're like, if we're going to get this done, we need help for the third shift also. They didn't want to ask me. I said, I'll do it. Wow. And my manager called me and said, are you sure? But the whole thing is, it was a place where you can only succeed. Like, you come here as a mate, you leave home, you come out here. There's just nothing you cannot do if you're interested. And that is how I got my offer right there. And amazingly, just God, when these people made me an offer, the offer they made me is as though I've been working in engineering for 10 years.
Wow.
And it's just been great since then, because I get to work before Corona came and everybody's working from home. They made room for me to come work back from home in Oklahoma until my husband can find something. They ship equipment to me, they ship tools to me, whatever I need to work with. So that is some of it.
Wow. That is just so amazing. Like, I'm just sitting here and worrying, and people in the comments too, they're like, wow, wow, what an impressive and amazing testimony. And it is indeed a testimony, you know. Sometimes when we've been in the dark place for a while, it almost seems impossible. And that was one thing I put even in the social media post I put out there, because many people will think, oh, after 10 years at home, like, you probably have to start at the bottom of the ladder again. But, you know, God did it and made you to rise above all the challenges and so-called setbacks, and made you to sit before kings and amazing people. And that is just so inspiring. I'm wondering if anyone has any comments or questions at this time before we move on. Anybody wants to unmute themselves and say something about just that piece of the testimony before we keep it going here? Anyone? Let's see. Okay, I'm just reading the chat here.
Very inspiring. Like, I have been laughing from cheek to cheek since I learned it. I think I enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing and inspiring us.
Amazing.
You're welcome, Edith.
Thank you, Edith. And you know, Edith was at that conference. I don't know if you remember her.
I remember.
Yeah. So we have a history out here. Thank you. Ayo says it was wonderful. Dio says impressive testimony. And you know, it's just the beginning. That's the way I see it.
Amen.
With
Amen.
everything going on, and such an inspiration out there. Okay, so with this that you've started, how long has it been now that you've been back in the career field, and what have you learned? What do you miss anything? Do you have any tips for folks who might be transitioning back to the career field at this time?
Yeah, so I don't miss anything, because I was very present in my past, and I still carry that with me every day. I know that whatever I have right now, I need to enjoy it, because tomorrow is going to be different, and I have no business looking back thinking like, I wish, like, that's just, I don't like that statement. But when they made me a full-time offer, I needed time to think about, am I ready to let go of my mornings, my morning walks, my quiet time? So there was a shift there. About being at work full-time, you know, and being in the midst of people, you know, I can say to us, you know, we have to believe, we have to know how much we can do. Don't talk yourself down. Don't if somebody sees it in you and is saying that, do this, that means you can do it. If you have to go and pray, go pray, but don't, by no means, you know, especially if it's somebody who is bringing, it's always going to be challenging. It's always going to look like, I've never done this before. But if somebody's saying that, I'm thinking you can do this, you know, do that. Being on time is key. Being diligent is key. Give yourself to what you do. Take time to do this stuff. If you're working for somebody, work at it as though it's yours. Like, this could be my company someday. What if somebody was working for me? How would I want them to use this hour? How would I want them to look at this work? How would I want them to talk to this other colleague or customer? So you don't only do what you're doing. Like, as an electrical engineer, I'm not only in electrical engineering. I got my kids, like, I get into embedded stuff. I'm in the product side. I read stuff, I ask questions, I go to events, launch events, even the things that don't concern my field. I'm present, I am there, I'm learning the culture, you know, I'm staying there. You understand the same thing about guarding your heart. Be slow to take offense. Don't take things personally. People have their own issues, and you will look as though they came at you, but probably not. They just have their own issues. And once you have to deal with that, that's just extra. They tell me, someone said, okay, you smile all the time. I know where I've been through. I know where God has brought me through. The least I can give is a smile. And another person said, no, it's just honeymoon. I'm like, this honeymoon is going to last forever. Because
I like that.
So bring energy, take care of yourself, so that wherever you are, even at your job, you know, find any, if you agree with people who are talking negatively of other colleagues, don't contribute to the conversation. Find a way to bring a different spin to it. You don't have to be fake. I mean, if you have to vent, I mean, since I've been sharing my office here with my husband, he's gotten to know a few people already I work with and their own dynamics, but I'm able to remove myself such that I can come back to it and then have a conversation, ask questions like, okay, instead of me thinking this is how you meant it, I should ask you, what's your thought behind this? Where are you going with it? You know, and then we also have in our places of work, our careers, we should see the big picture. Don't just be, this is my task. Because when you see the big picture, you're able to contribute more. And everybody rewards results. You know, there's nobody, you can hate as you want to hate. When there's results, it is results. And people want to be profitable. Businesses want to be profitable. So give yourself to what you're doing. Be on time. I know, you know, Africans, we struggle with that stuff, but it is so fundamental. It is so key. It will change everything about how people perceive you, the things they bring you into. So that we, you know, go on YouTube. I'm an electrical engineer, there's a lot of stuff. I said the only creativity I really was exposed to was my cooking. But now I'm working with tools. I'm talking about automotive, you know, putting a tire together, tightening a bolt, you know, controllers, you know, compressors. So sometimes I can be working on the circuit board, but it's not enough. If I go to YouTube, I see somebody using our tools. That's another world. So sit back sometime beyond the grind, I have to do this, and just pull yourself back and see the big picture and find ways to connect to that and just add value wherever you are. Just bring value, participate in conversation. Do not be quiet. You know what? Everybody's saying something stupid. They are just saying it. So say yours also. If you have something to say, go ahead and say it. And you'll be surprised how that is just what they needed. Or once you keep quiet, that's what the other person is saying. So let's not overthink things. Let's not overprocess things. Doesn't matter what another person is thinking. Be you, do you, just love people, you know, have a good time.
Wow, that is amazing. So many tips and great recommendations out there. Definitely, you know, being on time, speaking up, you know, many times we're reserved. And like you said, by the time you're sitting there thinking of, should I say this, should I not say it? Someone else says it and they look smarter than you. Meanwhile, you even had the idea or something greater that you wanted to share. And, you know, just understanding the work environment and being a team player and valuable member of the team. That is amazing. Tim, do you have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves or type it in the chat box. And we'll do that. And one thing I like that you also spoke about a few minutes ago was the fact that we needed to be present wherever we found ourselves. You know, I was asking whether you regret moving from that stage to the other, or if you're missing anything, or you shared a key point, you know, being present. And that's one response I always give when many people ask me about work-life balance. Like, how do you balance this? How do you do that? Because like many of you on this chats today, you know, we're not just a one way focused person. You know, you're a mom, you're an employee, you're probably in your choir or something in your church, you're a community helper, you're a thought leader in something, you know, you're managing businesses and all that. So we always find ourselves in so many roles. But the key thing is to be present at that particular point in time in whatever you're doing. Are you with your kids? Give them that valuable time so that when you're away, it wouldn't always be like, oh, mommy abandoned us, because they know that when you were there, you gave them that valuable time. And at work too, you know, when you're at work, give it your best so that when you leave, you know, you're done and you can take a break. So I definitely echo that. Let's see. Aya says in the chat, one quote I like that addresses that: wherever you are, be there. And yes, definitely agree to that too.
And I also wanted to say, this is so much fun. And I mean, I've had this before. I will hear it again if you were having this conversation tomorrow, because it's always so inspiring to me. And I will say this, you know, what Tcheula shared about her smile, that is true. That is what drew me to her personally, because when I first met her, I felt with 3 boys so close in age, with that bright smile all the time. I was like, how are you doing this? But she's always been that way, just always smiling and giving off a lot of joy and fun in everything. I do have a question for you, Tcheula, especially with regards to doing things you've not done in a while. How are you confident that you're not going to make mistakes, and that if you do make the mistakes, they're not going to be like, did we make it? Did we bet on the right horse?
Okay, so thanks, Ayo. Hi, Ayo. Okay, can we keep it together? So it changes. I think I've been during relaunch, my mind was blocked. I was like, I'm going to succeed. So there was no mistake thought. There was just, we're going to get this job. Then I came in full time. I think it shifted a little bit, and the expectations were also different. Right now I'm in a place where I'm comfortable with the help of God, like my time in the morning, my prayers, just looking into God and Him bringing me to a place where it's like all the other times before, did He make a mistake? And there's a scripture that says that all the thoughts of the righteous are blessed. I love that scripture. So it makes me say, it cannot be a mistake. God is in me. I surrender, I heal, I give myself to Him. And when I stand up in the morning, I'm like, God, this is your day. This is your stuff. This is works you've already ordained before the foundation of the earth for me to walk in. So whatever it is I have to do, because you're in me, it can only be as good as some other person who has you in them, not like, So I use that to be able to take a shot at everything, take a stab at anything. And there's an I don't care attitude, because I see it also with people in my team in meetings where people talk from a place of they don't know. I've come to learn that everybody's like, we don't know we'll solve problems. That's what we're trying to do. And that we're trying to get ideas, we're trying to have the conversation. So being comfortable in that space and just owning the fact that my own idea is unique. What I'm thinking, nobody can think it. Whatever you're thinking, nobody can think it. And just knowing that it could be in parenting, it could be being a sister, it could be in engineering. It is a thought. It came from God. I'm going to speak it.
Okay, I have one more question. Can you share with us, it's not quite a question, can you share with us any experience you had that further enriched your relaunch experience? Because I know that if there's anything, there were everything was new basically, right? Being in North Carolina, being in a job, going out with coworkers, maybe doing special projects, traveling all over the United States. Like, how did you, it probably all felt surreal, right?
Yeah.
And so can you share, how did you cope with all of that? Because sometimes when there's a lot of new, it can get overwhelming. And then you're still balancing the difficulty of being away from family. That's a change. And how did you not get to work and feel like, if you all talk about your children one more time, I'm going to punch you?
I was in a place of thanksgiving through our relaunch, and thanksgiving and gratitude. There's just strength because it had been 10 years. Like there was no way there was no way it could have been. So I did not get out of that place quickly. I stayed there. And because I was in a place of gratitude, I just always had strength. I just always had a good time. Every day just felt like this is the first day. In fact, this is the day I'm born. This is the first day of my life, So I don't know that, and I just was thankful. I was so thankful. I was just so thankful to have felt any other way other than God. I thank you for this opportunity, and that gave me everything else that I needed for the day-to-day in the relaunch program.
Wow, that is amazing.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you, Tcheula. Any other person has any comments or questions? This has been really an amazing time, and I know we're on the hour. I know it's Sunday. Just want to make
Yes,
sure.
I'd like to just make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Oludayo. Yes, I've been very inspired by your testimony, Tcheula, and what struck me most was the fact that through it all, there are so many reasons why you could have been a bitter, angry person, and you never were. You had such a beautiful spirit, which I think we should all embrace, because sometimes, you've gone to school, you have your degree, you have your master's, and it's like you're making so much sacrifices, you're moving from state to state, and and those sacrifices, yes, it's for the family. Yes, you're part of the family. But I know that as women, we also have our own goals and aspirations. And sometimes we sacrifice so much for the family that you lose yourself completely. And like you said, when the children have gone to school, you suddenly are by yourself without any direction, without any focus. And you're wondering, where did all the time go? But through it all, you were not bitter and you were not angry. I mean, that struck me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yay to God. Amen.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Anyone else have any questions? I'm trying to see in the chat if we have anything. But yeah, definitely this has been super amazing, super inspiring. Like I said at the beginning, you know, we all go through our unique journeys and each one is unique, but we can all still be a helping hand and a support to each other. And I believe that is what this meeting, this chat today, this conversation has been, to see that sometimes we don't go through it all by ourselves. Other people go through it as well, and to learn and see how they came out of it and how God was faithful through it all. So it's been super, super amazing having you all here today. Thank you, Tcheula. I don't know if you have any closing words before I wrap it up for the day.
Yeah, I mean, I thank everybody who joined us. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate what you're doing. You know, I talk about being at your conference and asking a question that why should anybody share their story? It seems as though everything that needs to be said has been said, you know, and yours say it was a unique conference. Your story is unique, your voice is unique, and also inspiring to see what you are doing then. But to everybody, God is good, God is great. Find Him for yourself, get in the Word for yourself, fill yourself with good stuff. Enjoy life. There's just nobody or no situation that is powerful enough to take away enjoying life from you. You know, so wake up every morning, determine that you're gonna have a good day, and have a good day.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Tcheula. So Thrive Conversation was brought to you today by Thrive in the US. It's a network and resource for immigrant career professionals. I'm Dr. Bunmi Akinkugbe, the founder of Thrive in the US. I'm a physician and public health practitioner, but I did go through my journey of walking through the trenches before I found myself where I am today. And every opportunity I get to help immigrant career professionals to move from survival to thriving, I always look to take advantage of that opportunity. And that comes through having guests like Tcheula on our Thrive Conversations, which is mainly a monthly meet up with immigrant career professionals, other career professionals and students, and just a motivational, inspirational session where we come together. For other monthly events, sometimes we have career webinars where we talk about crafting resumes, tips for interviews, how to map your career path. So it's a mix of everything, anything to help immigrants, career professionals. My platform is on thriveintheus.com if you want to check it out. On social media, I'm at Thrive in the US and Thrive_careers. I do provide a few resources to help immigrant women, which I'll just share briefly. I have an ebook that is an ultimate guide for immigrant career professionals. I also have an online course that is Design Your Dream Career, which is a strategic guide for immigrant career professionals, encouraging them to ditch the setbacks and find fulfillment at work and in life. It's been amazing having you all here today. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tcheula, for coming on board. God bless you all. Have an amazing evening and a great week ahead. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.